Hey y'all. Well, the year's already almost gone. 2025 almost out the door. Before we know it, Christmas will be here. New Year's 2026. Hopefully 2026 will be a little bit more profitable for America versus how things have been. Right now everybody's really upset and sadful on the death of young Irina, which there was no reason for that. We all human nature, all humans have the same spinal structure, skeletal structures. We have a heart, got lungs, got liver. You know, if I cut you and you cut me, we're all going to bleed the same color. So there is no difference other than a person's character. Yeah, person can have bigger boobs or bigger Peter, private parts, whatever. But that just makes a person unique. We are still all the same. We're all created equally. And for that kind of senselessness to happen, especially in what perceives to be something of disarray and misunderstanding for something that happened well over 160 something years ago. And even then, people don't understand their history 100%. And it doesn't matter. Close the door to the past. It's over with. You learn from it. It was a bad time for lots of different races, not just blacks, African American, excuse me. You had all sorts of different, even whites back in the day. Um, but that's here nor there. It's truly sad. My point for today is September is suicide prevention, and I really wanted to reach out. And if I cry, I apologize. Um, this is something that hits me dear in the heart. Um, I was probably, I think, 22. Um, I'm like 57 now. I'm an old fart now. But I struggled. And this is why the things that I do in my life, the road that I went on was very bad. Drugs, alcohol, selling of different things, of guns and drugs and prostitution and all that crap that I went down through as a young teenager, young adult, was not a good path. It was not the path for independence. It wasn't the path that the Lord wants you to be on. The devil had a hold of me, and he almost got me. Unfortunately, I've had several friends that have not been able to overcome their situation, or it was too much, and they felt there was no other way but to take their life. And suicide is not the answer. Even myself, I had a bad time. I I was working as a security guard. I was out in a gravel pit. Just showed up there one night, and just I had issues going on with my wife at the time. The drugs, things weren't there. I was a father at 19, and it wasn't planned. As much as I love my daughter, I would never trade her for the world, but it wasn't planned. It wasn't one of those things. And so I had struggles. Dropped out of school, went straight to work trying to support a family. And, the problems that I had, my parents were dealing with a divorce. They weren't getting along. So I was in and out of trouble at school, in and out of trouble with jail. So I got a job, was working, and you get a lot of time time to think when you're alone. And that's what I did. I spent my evenings out in the truck, out in the middle of the sand pits, and would think, and or I did drugs while I was working. That's how bad I was. Um, but I didn't think in a positive manner. The devil kept talking to me and getting into my head and just ripping at my heartstrings and making things worse, making me hate my wife, hate my life. Um, and finally, one day, I had was sitting out there and I had some pills, um, and I was like, you know what, I've had enough. Um, I just didn't see any other way out of it. It was almost uh, wishing I could, like a video game. Video game, you can pause it, you can stop it, you can start over, and we have a way of doing that. It's in the Bible. Um, if you lay down all your troubles to the Lord and pray, then He'll show you a sign. You just got to know how to read. And by reading, what I mean is reading the signs. There's signs that are put in front of you, and if you're not opened to what and allow Jesus and God's signs to come to you, you're not going to see them, or they're going to pass you by. So back to my story. So I ended up. It was probably somewhere around 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and I had taken these pills, and I remember real vague, but I do remember I was sitting in the truck, and just something. There was all these little deep canyons, deep pits. This is how, if ever you've seen a sand pit area work. And I remember I started the truck, and I literally was parked facing a canyon, a big crater that they had dug out. And it was shallow. It was water at the bottom, but it was shallowed water. Um, and I just remember I backed the truck up, and it was kind of like the old movie Thelma and Louise. I was like, screw it, I'm going for it. And my thoughts at the time was, it hopefully it was going to be quick. It was going to be easy, no pain, and explosion, and I was done. Wouldn't have to deal with things anymore. And so I backed that truck up, and I turned around and headed straight for the cliff. And something, as dark as it was, something, I, I, I believe to this day and age that it was an angel. Something bright came into my vehicle, into and around it, and flashed. And at that brief moment, I had a second thought and an awakening. And I slammed on the brakes. I slid that truck, and literally my front tire dropped over the edge. Didn't go far enough for me to have issues with going over the cliff, or not being able to move, and now I'm frozen inside the vehicle. You've seen the movies. This literally, I was tires just crunched over the edge, and I slid pretty good. This happened, and I slid pretty good to a stop, and I was able to back the truck off, got out of the vehicle, dropped to my knees, and see, this is where you can hear it in my voice. I'm sorry. Um, I dropped to my knees and just prayed and begged the Lord, I don't know what to do. I'm lost. And I could hear and feel that power, the power of the Lord. And so at that time, I got up, dusted myself off, and I went back to the office. Now, mind you, I was a security guard. There was nobody there but me. And the only thing I had in my realm, I didn't want to worry, my wife. Her and I were already having issues, so I didn't know whether or not she would think I was trying to play the um, little boy that cried wolf syndrome. It's a story way back in my day. If ever you don't understand it, look it up. But this was serious, and I was, feeling, weird to my stomach. The pills were taking effect, and so I ended up contacting a friend of mine who was a police officer, and he was one that, as I was growing up and I was dealing with stuff, he was like a mentor. He was always trying to tell me. He knew what I was doing. He knew I was in drugs. He knew I was having a bad time. He knew my family. He knew my parents. And sorry. I called him and I told him what had happened. And you know, uh, what was great about this guy was Van Rader. That was his name, Van Rader. And what was great about this guy was I was working just outside of his jurisdiction, and so he was not able to assist me other than he did show up there. Uh, Hell, it was probably maybe 20 minutes. Siren, sirens going the whole 9 yards. He came in, and first thing, he came in and he gave me a hug, and he asked me, he's like, "You okay? What's going on? Why would you, what are you thinking?" And so I proceeded to explain to him all of what was going on, all my troubles, everything that was happening in my world. And he ended up asking me, what kind of pills I took and how many, and and I was coming, I was like in and out of my conversation. He could tell I was feeling like I was going to fall asleep, and he didn't want me to do that. And next thing I know, the paramedic showed up, and he explained to me that I was just outside his jurisdiction. So, and I was kind of frustrated because all I wanted was somebody that I knew I could trust, and I knew I could trust him to talk to. Um, and so he ended up advising me, to go with the ambulance drivers so they could help me out, so that they could get the right medication to neutralize uh, the the pills that I took. And so we ended up, leaving, went to the hospital, and from that point there, they put me into psychiatric evaluation. Basically, it's not bad. It's a they gave me these like a charcoal drink, and it was like a milkshake, and I had to drink it. And what it does is it literally goes in and uh, eliminates all the toxic stuff that I had just consumed. Uh, Sad part was it made me toss my cookies. I vomited and ugh, out the nose, just ugh. It was. I'm telling you, this is one of the reasons why I tell people, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. There's always an answer. There's always a solution. You just got to know where to look and who to talk to get the solutions. And your first start is God, Jesus, and then a police officer or a fire department. Somebody. There's services out there. There's people out there for us. So anyway, I was sitting there and the doctor was talking to me afterwards, and I explained, what had happened and how I was feeling, and I ended up in a little kind of, I had the night to rest. So the next morning, on a 72-hour hold, it was mandatory for me to go into one of these little group meetings and talk to the people or listen to the people. And the lady sat there and said I didn't have to say anything. I could sit there and watch. And I'll tell you what, my petty freaking worries of being an adult and being a parent at such a young age. And I mean, I was living with my dad, with my wife and child. That kind of stuff, that's nothing, man. There's people that were there that had so many other issues that were so much worse off than I was. One, she was a military person, and her story was she had joined the military at a young age. She was it was just like myself, military family and everything. So it was brought into her beliefs of serving a higher power by joining the service. And in basic training, she had two other military officers, or not officers, but military people, cornered her one night and molested her, raped her, and beat her up. And that afterwards, they told her they were going to kill her if she said anything. And so she ended up getting, herself into a suicide prevention sit-up. So anyway, she was there telling me this stuff, and I was like, wow, I just couldn't believe that. It completely destroyed her. Destroyed her whole thought of life, her whole American pride, wanting to do and serve her country. She was willing to go out there and fight and die for her country, for our freedom, but she didn't deserve that. This it's just sad. It's sad that there's so many people out there that have it worse off. But back to my story. It's I came out okay. I mean, I learned in there about Jesus. I learned about the Bible. There's just so many things, and as I grew up, as I started getting older, that was one of the things. I still had troubles, all the way up till I think somewhere in my 30s. The devil was always grabbing a hold of me, trying to freaking bring me back down that dark road. And then I had to do it. I had to put all my ducks in eggs in one basket and say, here, Jesus, help me, take the wheel. As that song says, Jesus takes the wheel. And today I still have struggles. You're always going to have the trials and tribulations of life. But I'm a hell of a lot better of a man today, and I can say that I'm a man. I'm not a foolish child. I listened to my elders. I listened to those of them that have been down the roads. And I've taken notes to know what to do. And so that's why with like today, and the things that I do in the Big Brother program and trying to educate and open people's eyes that don't know, they don't have anybody, and to let them know, there's other avenues. Committing suicide, dealing with that kind of a pain doesn't need to happen. There's always somebody to talk to. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with. Drugs, alcohol, you may, like myself, I used to get thrown into lockers and trash cans back when I was in school. I was a nerd, and I was one that was picked on, and yeah, I turned into a scrapper. I ended up like Scooby Doo or Scrappy Doo. I was a little guy that had like a firecracker. I would come unglued to these people, and then it started. The more I was getting in trouble, the more I realized, that's not an answer. These people aren't worth me getting into trouble, going to see the principal. They're not. There's no reason for me to fight this person because I know I could whoop him. So that's where I got to. It was, Jesus says you turn the other cheek. And if I know that I'm powerful enough because of the Lord's on my corner, on my side, why do I have to bother with you? You'll see the karma's a bitch, and all I can do now is pray that you'll find yourself, that you'll decide that anger that's inside of you, you can use it somewhere else. You can direct it in other ways, and it doesn't have to be towards another person. And you don't have to hurt yourself. There's those people that cut themselves. That kind of stuff there. It doesn't have to happen. So, as we brace onto, different things with suicide prevention, firefighters from tomorrow, from 9/11, they got to see a lot of death. It was a very, very sad, unnecessary thing that happened. We lost a lot of good people, a lot of good first responders that they've sworn an oath. They swore to help us. They swore to, obey the laws and to do what they have to do to, keep us safe and or, rescue us, which is another reason why I say to a lot of people, why give these people, even though they work for us, as a theory, they work for us, law enforcement, firefighters, whatnot. They work for us, but if they pull you over, there ain't no reason to give them a hassle. You just talk to them professionally, talk to them politely, and say, okay, here's my driver's license, here's social, or my insurance. What did I do? Oh, I got a brake light out. Can I get a warning? Sure, no problem. I will go get it fixed. Thank you very much. Thank you for keeping me safe. Thank you for keeping other people safe. I appreciate you. Firefighters, those of them that went into that building of the Twin Towers, they had families. They did not think about, oh, well, wait a minute. I want to go home tonight. We'll let all those people just burn up and die. Hell no. They went in there and freaking got as many people out safely as they could before they lost their own lives. That takes a lot of guts. And with that is why I agree. Showing them, appreciation. You see a military person, male, female, whatever, just say thank you. They don't have to do what they're doing. They don't have to go out there and fight for our freedom to give us the right to be able to do the things that we do, or to not do the things that we don't want to do. They do it because they give a damn, because they care. If people didn't care, we'd be in a very, very bad way, like some of these third world countries. Complete building, environment destruction, people killing each other right and left. And I know that's not where you want to live. That's not the life that you want for yourself or your family. So in turn, again, suicide prevention, those are the types of people to talk to. Reach out. There's all sorts of places. We used to have phone books back when I was younger. You could, and the blue pages, there you go. It was there. But life's too important. There's too many things. It's too precious. And it's a gift. It's a gift from God. Just call. Make a phone call. Call your closest help suicide prevention line. Talk to somebody. You may or may not think everybody or anybody knows what you're going through. But guess what? It's worth a call just to find out whether or not they do. Hey, I love y'all. Remember, 9/11 tomorrow. Please say a prayer for everybody. And stay safe out there. Love y'all. Lord, I hope and pray that you protect every single person that sees this video. Give them the strength and the knowledge and the guidance to make that call. Don't let them end their lives. Stick around because we need you. Whether you believe it or not, we love you. Stay safe out there.